Meat. According to the Vegetarian Resource Group survey in 2009, 97% of the United States population eats meat. Now, myself, growing up in Arkansas, barbecue and hunting is a huge part of the culture. But what if we could help ourselves, our ecosystem, and our consciences by simply dropping meat? Vegetarianism is a better lifestyle option than the typical omnivorous choice. Now, let's go ahead and clear the air here of some of the common misconceptions about vegetarianism. The first misconception that I run into is that vegetarians don't receive enough iron in their diet. Now, iron is essential to blood cell health and development and is typically found in the blood of meat that people consume. But vegetarians can also receive this iron through plants in the ground because the plants absorb that soil. The most common places that vegetarians find this iron is through legumes, such as peas or beans or lentils, stuff of that sort. It can also be found in grains like brown rice, or it can be found in vegetables, preferably dark green vegetables like your spinach, your broccoli, stuff like that. Another common misconception that I run into is that vegetarians don't receive enough protein in their diet. But that's not true either, because protein is found in high amounts in legumes, seeds, nuts, grains, and your what they call meat substitutes, products like tofu, tempeh, miso, and a wheat protein called seitan. Now, another common misconception is that the vegetarian lifestyle is hard, but the vegetarian lifestyle is actually fairly easy to maintain. While you aren't just dropping meat, you do actually have to supplement vegetables and legumes of sorts. You open your world to new flavors and food groups, and soon not only will you not miss meat, your palate will grow to experience new foods that you wouldn't have tried otherwise. So while I understand the vegetarian lifestyle may be pretty difficult in the beginning, once you get those new foods, the lifestyle is actually very, very easy to maintain. Another common misconception is that all vegetarians are the same. There are actually several different sects of vegetarianism. The first is veganism, or total vegetarianism, in which one sticks to a code of eating no animal or animal byproducts. The next sect is ovo-lacto-vegetarian, in which they don't eat meat, but they do eat the animal byproducts such as honey and dairy and eggs. The last sect of vegetarianism is called pesco-vegetarianism, or pescatarianism, and that's where they refrain from eating beef or pork, but they will eat fish, and occasionally you'll run into a pescatarian that eats chicken. And so there are several different combinations of these based on your moral compass or your lifestyle choice or your health choices. And so now that we've gotten those misconceptions out of the way, let's take a look at some of the health benefits of the vegetarian lifestyle. It is no question that obesity and heart disease are an epidemic here in the United States, but this might be avoidable. According to Brown.edu, the ADA states that because their diets are lower in fat, vegetarians are at a significantly decreased risk of not only heart disease, breast cancer, and high blood pressure, but they're also at a decreased risk of heart disease and obesity. And if that wasn't enough already, vegetarians have been shown to have an increased life expectancy. A study in Okinawa, Japan has shown that the population there has undoubtedly one of the longest life expectancies in the world. Their diet, reflective of a vegetarian lifestyle, is low in calories and high of complex carbs, fruit, vegetables, and soy, according to the Vegetarian Times. The vegetarian lifestyle also has a huge ecological impact on the world. The Huffington Post recently did a study conducted on 55,000 meat consumers, ovo-lacto-vegetarians, pescatarians, and vegans. It has shown that the carbon footprint of meat eaters was twice as high as the vegan subjects. Now, why is this? Well, according to the EPA, the somewhat crude practices of the agricultural industries account for nearly 14% of the total carbon emissions into the atmosphere. The study finalized in saying that reducing the intake of meat and other animal-based products can make a valuable contribution in climate change mitigation. That's a quote. There's also, a moral problem with eating meat. Let's take a look at some of the moral arguments against the meat consumption. According to a BBC ethics guide that delves into the morality of vegetarian lifestyle, there are several ethical arguments against the consumption of meat. The first is that animals have rights. A lot of people believe that animals are entitled to a certain amount of rights, at least, in which case treating an animal as a food source and not as a living creature, violates even the simplest of rights. And even if one doesn't believe in the basic rights of animals, it is understandable that the consumption of meat is in violation of certain key interests of an animal. Chiefly the interest to not be killed, but also interests such as living in the best conditions, best suited for that specific animal, and the key to make its own choices. And even from a Unitarian or pragmatic viewpoint, which focuses on a logical outcome of meat consumption rather than the animal's rights or choices, the idea of meat consumption seems to fall into the category of morally unacceptable. The line of thought illustrated in the BBC article goes something like this. As human beings, we should strive to increase the amount of well-being in the world. Raising living things to kill them and eat them decreases the amount of well-being in the world. Therefore, we shouldn't eat meat. In closing, the vegetarian lifestyle could change the world, not only in terms of health, but also in terms of ecological well-being and in morality. Thank you.